Hello everyone, today I'll be taking you through my project of hospital API in which I have created API for the hospitals. Before starting the project and moving on to the postman, I'll be taking you to the theme of the project. So theme of the project is that we are creating the API for the doctors that are being checked for the COVID-19 patients. Here there are two type of users, the doctors and the patients. So doctor can register themselves and they can also log in after registrations, and after registration and login doctors can do two things. Firstly, they can register a patient and with their phone number, and after that they can create the report after the checkup. The patient reports will have three fields: the doctor who created the report, the status if the user is COVID-19 positive and all other negative and all other things, and the date on which the report was created. And these are the six routes that would be followed for which the controllers have been created. Firstly, the registration of the doctor, login of the doctor. After the doctor has logged in, he can create registration for a patient. Doctor can create report, and we can view all the reports of a certain patient in the descending order of the date from the oldest to the latest, and we can also filter out the reports based on any of the status that show me the report that users are all negative and all. So moving on the project, firstly I'll start my project with nodemon index.js. So my the server is up, database is connected. So firstly we'll move to the first route, that is doctors.register. Initially I'll be showing the routes and the controllers after sending the data from the postman, firstly from the postman app, and after that I'll explaining the controllers, how the controllers are working. So firstly I'll create this is for doctor registration, so I'll create a user like har Joseph Murphy at the rate gmail.com. I'll give the name Joseph Murphy, and I'll give the password 1234, and I'll click on send. So the message will be user is created successful, and I'll go to the database, and here you can see Joseph Murphy is created successfully. So moving on to the postman again, and I'll open the controller. So this is the create controller where firstly we'll check find that if the user exists or not. If the user already exists, so we'll be sending the status as 409 and username already exists. So I'll show you that also, like this user is already created. What if I click on send again? It will show me username already exists. So we require a different username every time a new user is getting registered. So moving on to the controller part, after that we are creating the user as per the username, password, and the type as a doctor, because doctor can also only register themselves and they can further register the patients. And that is all that will sending the status, and user is creation is successful. Moving on to the second route, that is the login of the doctor. So we'll check with the login with same user that we have created. The I'll copy the username from here, and I'll paste username to here. Password is 1234 only. I'll click on send. So here we have created the token. I'll keep it safe here only, and I'll show you how it is created. So when the doctor hits for the login, a session is created. First we'll find if the user exists or not. I'll also show you if the user exists if we give any random value like x y z 3 4 5 6, and if I click on send, what will happen? It will give me invalid username password. So we require user who is already there in the database, for whom the token will be generated. So if the user is present, we are just creating a token from JWT, that is JWT web token, and sending it in the request using key as alert 1234, and it will expire in these number of seconds. So moving on to the third route, that is the patient's registration. After the doctor has logged in, the he can register any of the patients. So for the patient's registration, we require login from a doctor. Like here we have given authorization. This token might have expired, I have given earlier. So what happens if I'll create and I'll give any of the number, like this is the number, and I'll change the username to Paul Coelho. And what if I'll send the request? If I send the request, it will be showing unauthorized because the bearer token has already expired, that it requires authorization. So I'll go to this same Joseph Murphy one, click on send. Token is generated. I'll copy this, replace this in the token. This is the name, this is the number, and now click on send. What will happen now? The patient registration is successful. There is username, password. This is a random password that is created in the backend, and the type is the patient. So now moving on, and I'll show the controller also. This is a patient controller for registering a patient. If the user already is in, what if now the user is already created, what if I'll click send again? It will give me a error, user already registered, and the data of that user that is already registered is displayed here, that when it was created, name, password, and all the things. So if the user is not there, so we are just creating the user with the phone number, password as any default password, and type as a patient. So this is for the third route. Moving on to the fourth route, that creating a report for a patient. So we have created this user, we have got this id, so we'll copy this id for the patient. We'll in the params, we'll add this id. Now in the headers, we also need to change the authorization from which doctors is sending this. I'll again show with the same authorization. What will happen if I click on send? It will show unauthorized, so we'll require a doctor's authorization. So I'll copy this. In report creation, I'll again update the token. The token is updated. In the params, I have copied the id of that user, Paul Coelho, and in the body I'm sending a status as negative, that the user is now COVID negative. Or we can also send any other status like travel quarantine. I'll send travel quarantine here. I'll set travel quarantine and I'll click on send. So report is created successful. The doctor creation, who created the report, the patient ID, and all other things are displayed here. Currently, we are displaying all the data to like in the format of user ID, because this is the user creation. When we move on to the next route, I'll be displaying the names. So moving on to this controller for report creation. This is the report creation controller. Firstly, it will find the user. What if this user ID is not valid? Let me change the user ID to any XYZ. What will happen if the user ID is not valid? It will give server error that it is not valid report. Okay, yeah, I pass the string value greater. So I'll just change the last word to 8. So yeah, the patient does not exist. So it will be giving me an error that the id that I'm sending, it does not exist. So this is one. And if the patient is found, I'll just create the report and send it to the user. That report is created successfully. Now moving on to the another route, that is for displaying any reports for a user. So I'll move to the fifth route, that we want to display up now the reports that for a certain user. So in the for certain user, again we'll require this id here. I'll go to the backend and check if I have user that is having more than 2 or 3 reports. So I'll go here. Patient is this. So like this patient is having two reports, so I'll use this ID here. And for authorization, I'll again, for this doctor, I'll click on send, copy the authorization ID, paste it here, and now click on send. So all the list of reports for this user ID is created here. Here I have populated the created by field with the name of the doctor that was mentioned, that we require the doctor's name, the status negative, and the date for which it was created. It is in the descending order, like it was created earlier and after that this report was created. Again, if another report is created, it will be displayed here. Like I'll copy this ID and I'll create another report for this ID, like from this doctor. Report is created successfully, and now again I'll list this report. Now you can see it is displayed at, after these two were created by different doctors, and this one is created by Joseph Murphy, travel quarantined, and the time is current time, that is 2:50. So it is displayed in descending order, from the oldest to the latest. I'll go to the backend and show for all the patient reports. So this is the patient reports which find the patient, and just it is for changing the date and format time for creating the name of this. That's reason I have populated this and sorted in the date order. And after that I am just sending this report data in the API. Moving on to the last one, that is the list status reports. Now in this API will give all the reports which have any specific status. I'll check the status which have more number of error. I'll go with positive admit. I'll click on positive admit. I'll enter at positive admit. For the authorized headers, I'll again, and only a doctor can check if all these reports, no other, only a doctor or any admin can only check, that will require authorization. So I'll click here, click on send, and we want all the positive admit users to be displayed here. So yeah, these are the list of report statuses with positive admit as a status. So here you can see there are two record displayed. First with the uh, patient ID of this one, the having 56 be in the last. I'll go to the database, having 56 be in the last, and second one is A4F. If we can check also if the current data is here, you can just check A4F. I have not populated this data with only three fields, like created with doctor's name and the status as positive admit, because the admin might require all the details. So we are having all the data here. Like in this we were only having three fields, but in this we are updating the fields with all the data. Now moving on to the controller part, it is just we are just finding the data with all the statuses, like request from the status. I am just finding reports status as requested and sending this in the reports field. What if I'll send, you can check, there are negative, positive, symptom current, and there are four statuses here, and I think we have all the status. I'll change it to negative and check if a person with negative status is displayed or not when we hit the API. I'll change it to negative and click on send. Yeah, so there is only one user in the negative state, so it is displayed in the API also. Yeah, so that's it for my project. Other than that, these are the configurations file and all the models, user model and report models, and basic index file to uh, displaying all the routes and all. Just this is my project, so thanks a lot.